Alright, welcome YouTube. A 1 hour delay is what we experienced on stream right now. It's gonna be Liereyy versus Max in the quarterfinals of Collection Cup. Acropolis, Atacama, Arabia, Four Lakes, Nomad will be the maps, and you see the civs on the screen. I completely forgot what I discussed about the maps and civs before, because as I said, Liereyy had issues updating his game, and because of that we had to wait 1 hour until they figured out the technical stuff. But here we are. I can't even believe that we are seeing this one happen. And it very much seems like Capture Age once again freaks out with the big trees. That is awkward, because I had that on live stream yesterday, and then I went to cast off stream, and it looks like it's an incompatibility issue between Capture Age and the new version of the game, because it didn't have this with the old version. So, Capture Age guys, if you are seeing this, it looks like there might be an issue with the compatibility of Small Trees mod and the new patch or so. I'm gonna have to check it out after this game, but for now, let's take a look at this game. Yeah, it's big trees, but we'll survive this one for a game or so, and I will try to figure out in between this game and the next what is exactly happening. So, we're gonna have TheMax over here as Aztecs in blue. To the north, we're gonna have Liereyy as Chinese in red. And one thing that we discussed with the civilizations before is that Max has an insane amount of diversity in his civilizations. Very flexible civs he has picked. Most of his maps are suitable for the majority of the maps that are available over here. So there is a lot of unpredictability when it comes to the civ selections of Max. He's gonna go for the conventional Aztecs pick here in blue, and Liereyy the predictable Chinese pick. While Max's civilizations are definitely... Oh, Liereyy got housed for a moment. So, while Max's civilizations are definitely sort of the diverse and versatile civilizations, Liereyy has very predictable civs for all maps. He has good civs for each of those maps, but all of them are pretty predictable, so I don't think he's gonna surprise us with anything. Speaking of Liereyy, I did mention that he did not update his game, or wasn't able to do that before the set, then we had to wait until he figured out the technical stuff. According to chat, he hasn't played for 6 days, so while Liereyy is still the clear favorite of this matchup, the fact that he's a little rusty could have an effect on this set, and you see that there is definitely a bit of a rust. He got housed for a moment in Dark Age, now that board is a little late, so his start wasn't as perfect as you would normally see Liereyy start. So, with that, we're gonna have Max coming in here with the walls on the left side. Interesting houses to play around with. And the first thing I'm noticing indeed is that Lierey's got 50 seconds of TC idle time. That's pretty massive at this high level of competition, and I'm not gonna lie, opening Chinese after not playing for 6 days is not easy. In fact, it's actually really hard to do. So yeah, the signs of rust are actually showing on Liereyy here in the first game. That's something I expected. I think that Liereyy might be a little rusty in the first game, and then he's gonna be able to rebound and just play close to his highest potential in the upcoming games. So he just needs a bit of a warm-up over here, so to say. Looks like he will be able to steal one cow from his opponent, and since Max is pushing in there, he is going to just ignore that for the time being. Anyways, looking at the maps of the players, Max's primary gold is pretty exposed. This stone is also ugly. The berries are very ugly as well, but he's got a backup gold mine at the back, which is nice. The right side is very easily volable, especially with these big trees. Obviously, the big tree is just a visual, but it looks much more volable when you have such huge trees. Still, this is an easy wall off here on the right side. Left side is relatively well volable, so while this is not a perfect map, it is still workable for Max, who's gonna open with a premium rush over here. We got Ugio, thank you so much for the 7 months of resub, welcome back. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, indeed, for a Max set, I should have just downloaded the cube mod for the trees, indeed. So, looking at Liereyy, he's got 4 on wood, so likely we're going to see an archer style play from him, and not scouts, which makes sense against Aztecs in this one. His base, as he actually does get a hit on his scout by a militia, but that means that he spotted the militias. So, Lierey's base, he's got the berries at the back, the gold is pretty exposed, and overall, this is a hard-to-wall map, although, let's be honest, Liereyy is not really the big waller anyways, so That's not gonna matter that much for him. But as I said, Liereyy spotted the militias with his scout, so he's gonna bring in the militias to this wood line. But Liereyy is already gonna be fully walled over there. So at this point, that rush is probably not going to accomplish much because the berries are very close to the TC as well. So Liereyy is just gonna wall around those vills anyways. But even if he didn't, he can just run back to the TC pretty easily. These are some very nice berries. At the back, very close to the TC, compare that to the one that Max has. It's a little bit further apart, but it's much more exposed overall. Now, Max is adding quite a lot of farms here, which makes me wonder if we're going to see a fast castle attempt here. Because as things stand, I think he could actually get away using no farms for a Drush Archer's build. He pushed in all 3 of his deer, and he only lost 1 cow, so I think if he wants to play Drush Archers, he could easily afford that without farms. So farms for me is a bit of a clue that we are going to see a fast castle play here from him. And indeed, he hasn't clicked up at 25 villagers still. He's going to play Drush Fast Castle. Now this is a little bit risky with such an exposed patch of berries. But considering that right now, Liereyy is not putting any pressure on him, as he's just not dropping the barracks for what is a straight archer's build after all. I think Max is gonna have his window to get up. Now, Max just grabs Loom, but Liereyy will be here with his scout, and that scout is now going to be a Feudal Age scout. This villager could easily die if Liereyy finds it. The militia still knocking on the mill, and it looks like Liereyy is gonna have a bit of trouble with the wood now. He can't afford a range. You can definitely see the signs of rust on Liereyy, who is gonna potentially wall all the way out here, because this archer range is definitely awkwardly placed over here, so he might end up walling all the way through here. But in the meanwhile, we'll have Max basically finishing with his walls, and his berries will pretty much be consumed by the time Liereyy gets here with archers. Also, I like how Max is coming in and applying some pressure here, because this might force Liereyy to use the first archer to just defend. It looks like we're gonna have a spear coming out. Why is Liereyy even making a spearman? That's even more awkward. A spearman would be reasonable if you were against a civ that's not an American civ, so... Oh, Max tries to snipe that wheel, but he went too greedy over there. That was way too greedy from Max. That was overly greedy. He loses the eagle and loses the militia. Losing the eagle obviously hurts more, but it seemed like he really felt that he can snipe that wheel, but that was impossible. So... that was a bit of a waste there from Max. Meanwhile, Liereyy comes in here with the Spearman, tries to use it sort of as a harassment unit on the berries, which is definitely awkward, not something that you see every day. Usually you add the Spearman when you're playing archers to deal with the opponent's scout, but when your opponent only has an eagle, that's not really a thing. So currently Liereyy is just making Spearman to do some harassment before the archers would arrive, and Max is doing a nice job harassing these archers. Look at this. That archer is now basically 2 HP. Now Max is gonna bring in that militia to take down the huntables. I really like how Max is just using those leftover militias. There's already an archer coming out here for Liereyy to deny the berries from Max. So Max's food count may not be enough to click up. That's why such an exposed patch of berries is definitely problematic. But it looks like we're gonna have an eagle being added here by Max to deal with that initial archer. Since the scout of his opponent is pretty weak, that eagle could definitely take this fight, and it looks like Max is gonna have an easy way into Castle Age, and he aged up with a market and a blacksmith, selling his stone. So he's not going for a Drush Fast Castle into crossbows, he's going for a Drush Fast Castle into triple barracks eagles, which is a very devastating thing to do. If you have seen Empire Wars, you have seen how good Aztecs can be when they are playing triple barracks eagles, especially when your opponent is going archers. So chances are that Liereyy will have to go for knights eventually, but I really like this build so far from Max. He's gonna have the second barracks coming in. Notice that Max used his villagers to build the market and a blacksmith here at the back, pretty much hidden from Liereyy. That's intentional. Instead of reinforcing these walls with that, he wanted to get them up here, because he wants to keep Liereyy blind. He doesn't want Liereyy to know that he's going eagles, because this Drush Fast Cast is either going for crossbows or it's going for eagles. So the fact that these are hidden actually gives Max a chance to hide his intentions for a little longer as these Eagles come in from the other side. Now that Liereyy sees the +1 defense on them, Liereyy should know that this is gonna be an Eagle play eventually. Nice micro from Liereyy there, by the way, just dragging away that Eagle. On the other hand, Max is also having a nice micro here, just sending back the weak Eagle Scout, healing it up inside the town center most likely. Although now, it looks like he's coming back to just clean this one up, as it looks like it's only double barracks Eagles because we're gonna have a fast monastery here by Max. The reason why is because he probably knows that Liereyy is gonna be going up to Castle Age soon as well, and he wants to avoid Liereyy just destroying his Eagles with some knights when he reaches Castle. However, there is a window here for Max. Liereyy is still 2 minutes away from Castle Age, and Max could go for a forward siege workshop and start pressuring this gold mine. I think this situation seems to favor Max here a little bit. And if you consider the fact that he's playing super aggressive, this might be his ticket for a game number 1 victory. For now, Liereyy is 1-range archers and he's got some upgrades on them, but not an awful lot. And considering that Max is going to start coming in with a will that now goes back, this could be very dangerous for Liereyy. Mangonels here would be devastating, because currently Liereyy has no tools to stop that. As things stand, he's gonna be fully walled as well, and he's got a pretty decent eco with horse color, double bit axe, and of course the power of Chinese farming. Whereas for Max, his eco is pretty stretched out, has 2 barracks pumping out Eagles, but he wasn't able to afford the Eagle Warrior upgrade, for example. He doesn't have +2 defense, so he's missing out on a lot of upgrades. You see that the forward siege workshop is delayed as well, because he just simply can't afford it. Still, there is the siege workshop coming in, and this is gonna pin Liereyy inside his base for the time being. But we have gotten our answer. Max will try to play aggressive gameplay over here. He's not gonna try to drag this game out for long. He just wants to play super aggressive in all the games. Here come the monks, and the Eagle numbers are starting to be scary here for Max, as Liereyy starts to add some knights, but those knights will have 0 upgrades on them, so it's not like they're gonna be a massive factor, especially if there's some monks on the field as well. A second stable coming in here for Liereyy. Meanwhile, the crossbowman is in. For our red player, Botkin Arrow just now coming in as Liereyy moves out. Liereyy, I think, is still unaware of that forward siege workshop, so that will come as a nasty surprise in the next moment, as Max breaks into Lierey's base here, killing a villager on the north, and this is once again going to force Liereyy back inside his own base to defend. Now, I'm not sure how much damage these Eagles can do here, especially as I said, they're missing +2 defense, they're missing Eagle Warriors, so it's not like these guys are super powerful as things stand. But this is definitely going to stretch out the attention of Liereyy, and if you look at the villager count, it is dead even. Remember that Liereyy actually had a pretty rough Dark Age, so because of that, this is gonna be an even villager count scenario, and then Max gets an enormous blast on top of those crossbows, only killed 1 but damaged quite a few of them, and now with Eagle Warrior in, these will start becoming more and more powerful as Liereyy is slowly teching into knights, but he doesn't have a single upgrade on them. No armor, no attack upgrades, no bloodlines, no husbandry, nothing. Interesting is the fact that Max is going for what is an attack upgrade first, not a second defense upgrade. The attack upgrade obviously helps against the knights, but I think the second defense upgrade is still more important because you still face a bunch of crossbows. So I think +2 defense would have been a priority here for Max. Here come the crossbows. Max only has 1 mangonel. He decided not to go for a second one, instead at the second town center, as he's also picking up relics and bringing in a huge amount of monks. So Max's eco is going to start overtaking the one from Liereyy here, because if you look at the 2 relics, if you look at the fact that there is going to be a second TC here on the primary gold, that's going to start looking better and better for Max here. Currently he has no upgrades on those monks, but once the crossbows are dead, you could easily see those monks getting redemption and starting to convert these buildings over here to knock him down. An alternative from Max here could be to get a ram and start ramming these buildings down, as the Eagles will once again try to open something on the right side now. +2 defense and sanctity coming in here for Max, so he's switching into a higher gear, as those crossbows will be very exposed. The knights are slowly getting their upgrades though, so I think Liereyy is just patiently waiting for one decisive fight in this one, and that fight might happen soon. the monks still don't have Sanctity, and it's going to be essential for Liereyy to snipe the monks before the knights join the fight. If he cannot do that, the knights will just get converted by the monks, and that's exactly what seems to be the plan here for Max. Another decent mangonel shot, but now the mangonel is down. Crossbows come in to try and get some snipes, and it looks like the conversions were partially on the crossbows. Still, 2 knights get converted, and since those knights had pretty underwhelming upgrades, just +1. And Bloodlines, this was a decent fight here for Max. At least an even fight, but potentially better than that. And if you add it to the fact that behind this one, Max already has 3 relics, and he has a chance to pick up the 4th one, but not the 5th, and he's on 2 TCs, you're starting to like Max's position more and more. He's got the monks here with Sanctity, and as I said, that fight couldn't have gotten any better for Max over here. Still, now he's adding Eagle, or Barracks number 3 for more Eagle production, and he still needs to be careful not to lose his monks to the Eagles, but I'm starting to feel like Max is taking over a little bit here. Still, Liereyy has his time to tech into knights, and now +2 defense is coming in. Nice micro from Liereyy. Tries to dive in and snipe the monks, and a miss micro here by Max, allowing all those monks to be slaughtered. As good as the previous fight was for Max, this one was a disaster, and this is why those crossbows are still so important. Being able to snipe monks like that is massive, massive value. Max is in the desperate need of more production, by the way, because you see that his queues are filled. He's got 10 Eagles queued up, which is definitely more than what 3 barracks can facilitate, as there was no conversion here on the monk. Second monastery comes in as well. Remember that Liereyy is still 1 TC and Max is on 2, so Max is slowly carving out an economical lead here, as he has to buy some food to be able to keep producing Eagles. He needs a 4th barracks here, I believe. Still, as things stand, Max is looking for relics. He's got the map control over here, and Liereyy is only 1 TC. So this is where I think Max could consider thinking about adding eco. Or the alternative is that he could think about starting to send a couple of villas on stone, assemble a big force of monks and eagles, and then just go for a castle drop. Liereyy just now adding second town center right now for himself. Remember that Max still doesn't have horse color, whereas his opponent does, and neither of the players does have boso. As it looks like Liereyy is gonna launch a counterattack here with the knights. They might bump into this monk here, and that would basically mean that Max could spot this. Max is already vault here, so I don't think that these knights can realistically get in. And I think that now Max is realizing that those knights could be coming closer to him, and indeed that's the case. This is why he's trying to wall off his base, but this will be just a little too slow. If he does this like half a minute ago, he would have avoided this one happening. Now that's not gonna be the case. Quick walls coming in here. Quick walls coming in here, and he actually could trap this army. Max with the masterpiece. Impossible! The masterpiece from Max! Now, the knights will still be able to bash their way out. Max will try to prevent that one from happening, but that's not gonna happen. Still, I mean, he was so close to pulling off a masterpiece here, and since Liereyy is not actually realizing that he has the chance to escape, these knights will probably all go down. They will try to snap the monk. At best, there is a conversion on one of the weaker knights, and the monk gets traded off. But still, that was definitely amazing here for Max. Still, now the crossbows are pushing up, and Liereyy could pick off the monks here. That is massive value there for Liereyy. But that eagle group is pretty scary. 28 eagles as Liereyy is grabbing Thumbring, so he wants to continue playing with crossbows as well. Another barracks coming in here for Max. And I think Max wants to sandwich this army in between a force coming from this side from his new barracks, and also wants to flank from this direction. Still, Max has 7 villagers lead, and he's got 3 relics as well with Aztecs, and I think he's taking a decisive fight here. This is a very, very good fight for him, because sure enough, those knights have +1/+2, but the eagles have +2/+2 as well, and the numbers seem to favor Max over here pretty heavily, although it looks like he's gonna split his forces, which will mean that these knights will deal with some of his eagles. But at this point, I think Liereyy cannot really be happy with the situation he's in right now. The army numbers are decisively in the favor of Max, and remember, eco also in the favor of Max, +3 relics. That's going to help quite a bit in the long run, and indeed, Liereyy taps out, and Max coming out victorious in the first game, I did feel like Liereyy could be a little rusty if he hasn't played for 6 days in the first game, and it probably was the case, but also Max looking strong here. In the previous round, he defeated Vivi 3-1, and Vivi has had some good performances recently, so maybe Max is back, and funnily enough, I uploaded the Vivi versus Max set on YouTube like yesterday, and tomorrow morning I opened my YouTube and I saw someone commenting on that video and asking, is Max back? Maybe Max is back. Maybe this is the day of redemption for him. He has had some rough times in the last half year. He didn't even sign up to qualify for Red Bull Volvo 4, so he didn't even attempt to do so. We know that he's got university work, so maybe he didn't have as much time as he wanted to commit to Age of Empires recently, but one thing is sure, this was a strong play here from Max. It wasn't perfect, but keep in mind, he's up against Liereyy, so while this is not an S-tier tournament, the fact that Max could potentially upset Liereyy is a very, very good, or it's projecting a very good future for him. Obviously, there's a long way to go for that, so don't jump into conclusions just yet. It was just one game, but I did mention that I think that some of the maps here in this tournament don't necessarily fit Lierey's style that much. And Arabia is definitely one of the maps that fits his style very well. So the fact that Max could win this map is actually pretty massive over here. And with that, Max is the one that takes game number 1. Liereyy is going to lose Chinese, and Aztecs will be gone by Max. And with that, we should have the overlay updated. Alright, while we're waiting for the second match to start, let me check what I can do. Oh, that's a new bug. Now I see why I don't have small trees. It's not a capture age issue. The game just completely resets your mods every time you restart it. Or at least that seems to be the case for me. Because I have all my mods disabled now, and I firmly remember playing the game yesterday. In this version. So that's why we didn't have small trees. Because all my mods were disabled. It does happen every update, but this is not the first time I launched the game after an update. Like, I know that it happens every time there is a game update. I know exactly. I mean, I am switching game versions a lot more frequently than you guys do, because sometimes you go back to old patch for tournaments and stuff like that. Hipparkoi, thank you so much for the 3 months of resub. And like, the thing is that I already updated the game when the patch came out, and I played with someone yesterday. I actually had my mods on yesterday evening, and all I did was, just quit the game and start today, and there was no patch from yesterday to today, unless I missed something. So that's why it was awkward. It's not like this was the first time I launched my game since the patch, and it just got disabled all my mods. Alright, anyways, problems solved, so now we're gonna have the big trees removed. We're back to the land of tiny trees overall. Alright, so they are setting up the next game over here. We are going to the first home map of Liereyy, which can be Acropolis or Atacama. It's very likely we're going to see Khmer and Slavs on those two maps. And now we can actually go back to what I discussed with Max's civilizations. Look at those. The amount of flexibility you have is brutal. Malians, Persians, both of them are perfect civs for Nomad. Persians and Huns are both perfect civs for Four Lakes. Franks is a perfect civilization for Atacama or Acropolis. Why is the map thingy not updated? That is a win here. So there's a huge amount of flexibility with Max's civilization selections, whereas for Liereyy it's a lot more predictable, I would say. So Khmer and Slavs going for Atacama and Acropolis, Japanese for Four Lakes, and Mongols will be Nomad. As we will have Huns versus Slavs on Acropolis, a civilization matchup that should favor Huns massively in this one. So Max is gonna pull the trigger on Huns, Which is, as I said, one of the reasons why his flexibility here with his civs is very nice. It wasn't completely predictable that it's gonna be Huns here. He could have said, okay, I wanna play Malians maybe, and use Huns on 4 lakes and Persians on Nomad. He could have gone for Franks. He decided to go for Huns, and that's a great civilization selection, I believe, because Slavs will really struggle against Cav archers. So, obviously, early game is pretty even, and I would even say that Slavs might have the edge in early game. But unless they are able to overrun the Hunnic player with knights in early castle, the Huns will just go for Cav archers and steamroll you. And I think that Max could easily think about maybe even going for a fast castle style play and just go triple range Cav archers. Just like he did with Aztecs, triple barracks eagles, it would be triple range Cav archers with Huns. Yes, small trees mod does work with Capture Age. Most graphics mods do, I believe. But especially these super standard ones. It's just the fact that you gotta enable it in the game to make sure it happens. And I think you have to have a setting in Capture Age as well that says, like, there's a setting that actually enables in-game mods to be displayed within Capture Age. If you don't have that enabled, it's not gonna work. That is because they want to avoid any potential bugs from that. And look at that, we're back on the land of small trees. We're gonna have Liereyy flipping colors over here. He was red in the previous one, right? So I'm gonna go back to his red color. And Max was blue, if I'm not mistaken. The usual color that he plays. We're gonna have Max playing as blue Huns on the north, and to the south, we're gonna have Liereyy as red Slavs. So looking at this map real quick over here, Max technically has a woodland at the back here to work with, but this is a pretty ugly one, to be honest. It's actually a wood line. It's a line of trees in this one. And looking at the other wood spots, he doesn't have an amazing one close to him, to be honest. So this one might be workable, this one is pretty far. Maybe this one is workable. But in general, he doesn't have a lot of amazing wood lines to work with down at the bottom of the hill. Whereas for Liereyy, he's got a pretty straightforward one over here. Maybe this one is also workable for him. So, on Acropolis, as we have an almost perfectly square-shaped pond in the middle, which is pretty rare, you're probably gonna start off with scouts, but oftentimes players just go full walls and go for fast castle, which is awkward because you have to wall quite a lot, but we have seen that being the meta in Acropolis team games. So, speaking of that, Max once again has an absolutely horrendous berry spot. He did that in the previous game as well, but look at this, this is absolutely awful. So far out, impossible to wall, impossible to defend. That's an absolutely awful berry spot for him. In comparison, Lierey's got a very nice one here. That's pretty well defendable at the back of his base. A nice one to have overall. In general, I think I like Lierey's base layout a lot better than that of Max. So, for example, walling this gold mine isn't... Actually, it is. There is one thing that's nice with Max's map. Oftentimes on Acropolis, you see that this dark patch that's unwallable spans to the edge of the map, which means that you cannot wall like this, here. You can only wall like this, if you avoid... You can't place buildings on these dark tiles. But there is one thing to consider. As it looks like Max is a random llama here. How did you guy get in here? Hold on. Max actually sent a llama all the way from his base to Lierey's base. Because he was pushing in there the whole time. There is no way it was a scout laming Lierey's llama and then just going back. That's not the case. This is a llama that went all the way from the Max's base towards Lierey's base. That is an interesting decision. It looks like he wants to push in there, and because of that he was willing to sacrifice one llama. So even if Liereyy takes it, he's like, okay, I'm still gonna have my deer pushed in and I will know where my opponent is at. Or it may have been also accidental, we never know that. So what I wanted to highlight about Max's base is that he can wall from this wood line to the edge of the map here because there's no dark patch here. And same thing on this side. So he technically can secure the entire back area of his base with limited amount of walling, and that's a pretty rare thing to see on Acropolis. That's a nice advantage for the Max in that regard. So, berries up for Max over here. He's going to decide by this wood line. This is his first wood line that he's gonna play with. So you see, there's a different approach for two players. Lierey's gonna go for the smaller wood line on top of the hill, whereas Max is gonna go for the more exposed one, but the one that lasts longer in this one. And as things stand, this is probably going to be a 20 pop scouts build from Max over here. He probably realizes that this is not even remotely close to a fast castle map here. Liereyy is also going for a pretty fast castle here. In fact, that is 19 pop Feudal. It's super fast Feudal here from Liereyy. And we're going to see some good old-fashioned Scouts micro here in this one. Anyway, second lumber camp coming in here for Max as well. He's gonna have to wall these villas off to ensure that they don't get just slaughtered by the scouts of the opponent. And with both players pushing in their deer, they will be able to delay adding farms quite a bit here, as now Max is going to find the wood line of Liereyy. So, Max has to be careful, because that was an opportunity for Max to get his scout trapped in here by Liereyy, and that's something that he definitely wants to avoid. Liereyy is also pushing in deer from all the way out here in the middle, I believe. That is an interesting approach, but I don't mind it, I think. It's a pretty decent idea from Liereyy that he goes for a couple of deer in the middle as well. 1 or 2 extra deer can be very helpful here for Liereyy, and it's not like he has anything better to do with his scout. He's playing scouts anyway, so he has got time to scout the opponent's base, and now with his feudal age advantage, plus hitting the opponent's scout down hills, this is definitely a good fight for Liereyy here, even though Max is trying to make it as good as possible by constantly trying to take the hill. But you see that Max has already lost most of the HP on his scout over here. There's the stable coming in here from the Max, as he already walled off his lumberjacks. Whereas on the other side, Liereyy is also going for his own stable here. Bit accent horse color coming in for both sides. So when it comes to scouts micro, or overall just scouts fighting here, then Slavs will definitely have the advantage, because you got the better farming eco, so you can easily pump out more scouts than the opponent, especially in like late feudal. The question is how things are gonna go starting Castle Age, because both players could go like double stable knights and just go knights and monks, but Huns have the option to switch into CA, which could work if you can get a decent amount of cav archers on the field, or you're just gonna die if you can't. Here come the scouts, and Max will have the villagers walled in on the berries. The good thing about fighting against scouts for these players is that they can just wall in their villagers, and then there is no chance for the opponent to yoink any of them for now, as we will have spears coming in as well from Max. Would the buff boyars be good? Nope. Buff boyars would still die to cav archers. Like, the boyars got melee armor, if I'm not mistaken, and that's completely useless here. I mean, in a knight versus knight war, maybe, but like even the non-buffed boyars, so the pre-patch ones, would have been a decent idea in that case. The problem with boyars is that you need a castle for them, and you have very limited production even if you have one. That's the main issue that you're facing. So, we're gonna have the scouts yoinking one spearman here from Max. It looks like Max is gonna be fully walled on his wood line and the berries, so Liereyy cannot really do much unless he finds this gold mine. Max will be prepared for that, so he already was in these villas, as we're gonna have a couple of spears out from Max to protect his gold. Max will flank all the way around it. He's probably planning to hit this wood line that he's aware of. Lierey's got defensive spearmen though, so I don't think that he's gonna be capable of doing that. Indeed, he sees the spearman, runs back home, and we are gonna see potentially a couple more raiding attempts here from Max, but Liereyy has spearmen basically everywhere, so 2 spears over here, 2 spears over here. It is virtually impossible to deal with these spearmen right now for Max. Now, Max did actually pass an arch range foundation, but it wasn't started by the time he passed it, which means that he isn't aware of the fact that Liereyy is adding an archer range. That's an interesting decision from Liereyy, because it feels like it's just a preemptive thing to deal with the spearmen that will be coming in from Max and maybe even try to apply a bit more pressure to Max, who is taking an absolutely horrendous engagement here. And indeed, a couple of skirmishers picking off the defensive spearmen from Max could be pretty decent here for Liereyy. But, you know, as Slavs, you never really want to invest into archer ranges, to be honest. In general, they just don't benefit that much from having an archer range. Probably in Feudal a little bit, because they're able to pick off spearmen, they're able to pick off potential early archers as well, but once we're in Castle Age, those skirmishers will become more and more obsolete, and you don't really want to sustain that for long. Now, Liereyy wants to play a pretty aggressive Feudal Age over here, as he is pushing up. Max instead grabbed the Bloodlines, so now this is a fight that Max can conveniently take here. Liereyy is opting to go for Forging here, so we'll have an extended Feudal Age with quite a lot of scouts fighting. That's the Blacksmith coming in here for Max. Looks like he stopped making scouts for a moment, but restarts the production right now. Remember that he's got faster working stables because he's Huns. In exchange, his opponent has the Slavic farming, as Max is taking an engagement here. I think he could have taken that fight. Many of those scouts from Liereyy were weak, and they did not have forging when that fight started. Now Max is going to try to fall back to the hill. Nice micro from Liereyy, keeping his low HP scouts alive. And now this is going to be a little bit more troublesome to protect for Max over here. And we also have to consider that Max has a huge amount of TC idle time. This is where Lierey's power really starts to shine, being able to micro and macro at the same time. I did mention that some of the maps in this map pool do not favor Lierey's strength. Acropolis, Atacama, Kilimanjaro, Serengeti are the ones that definitely do fit his skill set, and you see why. So he already managed to carve out a free villager's lead just by having a much better macro than his opponent does. And when Bloodlines comes in for him, having +1/+1 already, this is going to be more and more worrisome for the Max. There's a much more consistent production of scouts and villagers from Liereyy, and it's going to have its effect on the game soon, as Liereyy wants to drop a tower here close to Max's wood line, just to deny that wood line as much as possible. Max is a defensive tower up, but I feel like he's falling apart a little bit over here, as now his villagers are a little bit derping out. There's a bunch of idols here that have been there for quite a while. And if you look at the resources, Liereyy is piling up a little bit more resources than Max does. So chances are that we could see Liereyy beating Max into Castle Age here. Here comes the big engagement though, but as I said, now you don't have the defense upgrade for Max, something that Liereyy already has. So Lierey's scouts are now better than the ones from Max. And this tower goes up for Liereyy, but correct me if I'm wrong, without fletching, this won't be able to reach the wood line of Max. These villagers have been here for a long time, and holy potatoes, this is what Max was preparing for, to go for a counter raid. And I mean, Liereyy is trying to quick wall those wheels on the 2 remaining trees. Look at that nerd. He just quick walled those wheels on like 3 trees remaining. Oh man. Now, Max actually has no fletching for himself, and it looks like Lierey's tower still can't reach the wood line with fletching. That's a pretty massive blunder here for Liereyy, because guess what? Now this tower is completely useless. He's got 2 villagers stranded here, and Max managed to pick off 2 wheels. He's the only player in this game with the villager kill so far. Still, because of all this idle time on Max's TC, Liereyy is still ahead by 5 wheels, which is a pretty enormous thing, although Max is gonna have wheelbarrow. But still, if Max didn't have that idle time, it would be perfectly fine, as he... Oh, Liereyy! This is disgusting. That villager should have been dead, but nope. Liereyy once again coming in with the quick walls and saving that lady as well. I mean, Max is trying his best to snipe wheels, but Liereyy apparently... he's now warmed up. This is something I expected, that Liereyy is gonna be a little rusty in the first game. And then when he gets warmed up, he suddenly becomes a lot more powerful, and it seemed like that warm-up period has just ended. Now, Max's wood line is a disaster here, as there's overchops, there's idle time on it, definitely far from ideal, as Liereyy comes in here with his own scouts. Max still doesn't have +1 defense, something that Liereyy does, as we're gonna have this scout scuffle here. Max is trying to lure the scouts of the opponent into the TC fire, and that might work out. 15 scouts for Max, 13 for Liereyy over here, but Lierey's got a slightly better upgrades on them, as I said. Still, Max holds this force off, and now he's going to try and jump on Lierey's wood line. And with that, if that happens, especially with Liereyy mixing in more and more archers, the mobility factor could be on the side of Max here now. Liereyy is nowhere close to Castle Age, neither is Max, so the game still remains very, very chaotic, but as I said, if Liereyy is actually going for archers, then the mobility is a massive advantage that Max could have in this one, and he's waiting for the opportunity to jump on the wood lines of the opponent. As I said, there was an overchop here, but Liereyy once again wasn't able to kill a single villager. Max trying to buy himself up to Castle Age, and I think that probably means that he will just try to continue playing with knights. Still, I think the biggest problem that Max is facing is this idle time. This is why he's 5 villagers down, despite the fact that he actually killed a couple of villas from Liereyy. Speaking of killing villas, that's another one that gets picked off, as Max is trying to buy himself up to Castle Age here. He's only 1 stable, whereas Liereyy goes for 2, so Max is definitely in the danger of getting overrun by scouts in Feudal here. But guess what? He is picking off another vill here from Liereyy, and so far the villager KD is 5-2. Still, that idle time on Max's TC is very, very ugly overall, as those overchops finally start to cause problems for Max. Max just doesn't have wood income here. His wood line has been rampaged all over the place, and you see that this tower is now starting to deny trees. The scouts are inside. Max actually has no legitimate wood income, and it looks like he's gonna completely change his mind, forgot his plan about going up to Castle Age. He's going for double stable scouts, but at this point though, he's definitely feeling a massive deficit, and as I said, he's killing the vills. The problem is that he's now losing his own vills as well, and this idle time that he has on the TC is just enormous. Every 25 seconds he has idle time on his TC, that's -1 villager. So, unless he kills a villager from Liereyy every 25 seconds, his TC is idle, then he's still going to be behind in terms of villagers. So, 3 minutes difference in terms of idle times is about 6 vills, and that's exactly what you see over here, basically. So, it looks like he's gonna stay double stable scouts here, but now Liereyy is the one piling up resources to go into Castle Age, and remember that while Liereyy did get raided, it's not like his economy was absolutely devastated by that one. Fletching coming in for Max as he's trying to take down the tower, but his own tower is shooting at the house. And that's why that house over here is so valuable for Liereyy. Because that house is drawing away arrow fire from the tower, and that buys some time for Liereyy to keep that tower up. It looks like Max isn't able to range this tower over here. Okay, now he's targeting it, so he needed fletching for that. Looks like Max is also pulling vills to... What? That was a bit of a miss micro. Still, looks like we're gonna have a pretty long feudal age over here for us. Currently 15 versus 15 scouts. Now the upgrades are completely identical for the 2 players. But this is where Max's eco is going to suffer from the lack of wood. Because he didn't have wood income for the last 5 or so minutes. And now his farms are starting to run out. And that's where things are gonna get really problematic. Max is actually mining stone here like a madman. So I'm wondering if he wants to have some additional towers here. Maybe try to tower Lierey's wood line here. Could be an idea for him. Still, 43, 47 vills now on the other side. And the thing is that now with the villager kills and now with Liereyy having some idle time as well, the villager counts start to equalize. This is a very chaotic game over here, but the villager counts are equalizing, we can't deny that. And if you look at the scout numbers, those are pretty close as well. I still think that Liereyy is having a massive advantage here, but that advantage is certainly shrinking. And Liereyy is investing into archers, which is nice, but archers would just die to bloodline scouts here. I don't think that archers is the good decision here for Liereyy, especially not with Slavs. As another villager goes down here from Liereyy, you see there's so many things going on at the same time. Liereyy trying to snipe villagers on the farms, trying to get to the gold mine. Brings in some archers to deal with these gold miners now, as Max will probably try to intercept those and prevent the villagers on the gold mine from being killed. Still, Liereyy is losing villagers on this one, and look at the Vil KD. 16 villagers killed by Max, only 7 by Liereyy. As another defensive tower comes in here by Max to try and prevent those archers from jumping on his gold mine, but with his scouts going down, Max's gold mine is going to be exposed to archers, and this is, as I said, where the idle time, the inefficiency of Max's eco is going to start showing, because Liereyy will just overrun him with scouts, and with that, Liereyy takes the next game over here. A very, very chaotic and back and forth game, and if I had to summarize it in one game, that's inefficiency for Max's economy. So, a lot of idle time on him, and it looks like the thing is that Max wanted to go up to Castle Age, but by the time he decided that he doesn't want to go up and just wants to play a longer Feudal Age, it was too late. By that time, Liereyy was able to have a better economy set up, and remember, this is the dream scenario of Slavs here. I did mention that Slavs have no answers to the Cav Archers, but what if it's a full feudal scout war? Slavs will love it. 28 Slavic farmers working for you. Max had 18 farmers only, and remember, many of these farms are running out because the wood line was harassed really heavily. So the overchops, the tower coming in here from Liereyy, all of that contributed towards the inefficiency of Max's eco, and that is where Lierey's macro really shines. Being able to deal with all of these things at the same time is something that very few people in the world can do, and Liereyy was able to do it. He's gonna strike back over here swiftly after he apparently got warmed up in the first game, and Acropolis will be in the hands of Liereyy. We're going back to the lobby over here. Actually, I want to show the APM graph because this might be interesting for this map. So let's look at that APM graph. Look at that. This is one of the reasons why Liereyy is considered a better player than Max in general. There was basically no moment in the game where Max had better APM than his opponent. 65 for total for Max, 105 for Liereyy. Basically, for those of you that don't know what exactly this tells you how fast the player is playing. Basically tells how many actions you do in a certain time frame. So the more actions you do, the obviously you're a faster player. So that is the reason why Liereyy was able to outplay Max here. He was doing more actions, and those more actions are always control those units a little bit more, being able to control your units and manage your eco at the same time. And that APM graph is really showing why Liereyy was able to outplay Max here. He was just the faster player all across the game. All right. So, next up is the first home map of TheMax over here, 4 Lakes or Nomad. I would say that Nomad seems more reasonable for Max to choose here, and this is where I want to channel back to the Nili versus Liereyy set, because in a previous round, Liereyy faced Nili, and he defeated him 3-0, but there was a Nomad game where both players actually had a pretty rough game, I would say. Both of them lost a lot of villagers, and after that game, Liereyy said that he thinks that both of them lost that game. So Liereyy apparently didn't have a good Nomad game in the previous round. Let's see what he can do in this one. He apparently has the habit of switching his colors around. He was red in the first game, green in the second one, and now yellow, which is interesting because that's color number 2, 3, and 4. So if the tendency continues, in the next game he should be playing as cyan, because that's color number 5. So I'm gonna switch him back to red just for the sake of consistency. Liereyy is going to be playing Mongols here, no surprise about that one. That's his only legitimate Nomad civ. And Max, he's going to be playing blue Malians here, which means that he's saving Persians for 4 lakes. Max has an absolutely horrendous TC spot here. That is an absolutely awful TC spot. If you look at his base, it's relatively close to Liereyy, but he is sort of cornered in here. Berries are nice, woods are nice, and, you know, there is stone as well, but the closest goal that Liereyy or Max could take is this one or this one. This one is very far out, and he has very limited chances of finding that, and this one is right next to Liereyy, so I don't think it's gonna be safe. And in the meanwhile, what's even worse is that if Liereyy figures out Max is here, he will know exactly that all he needs to do is just contain Max. So, if you think about it, Liereyy has all the space to fall back to here on the right side. Whereas for Max, he's got nowhere to fall back to, no backup resources. This is a very, very unlucky start for Max, but let's be honest, one of the reasons why people are playing Nomad in many cases when they're the underdogs is because Nomad can have some very unfortunate spawns for either player, so if this was the other way around, Max would be very happy about the situation, because that's exactly why you pick Nomad. You can get a massive advantage just by having a good TC spot at the beginning. That's not gonna be the case for Max here though. So, for the time being, Max is gonna have his dock on the right side. That's a very nice dock spot, although it would have been better probably over here, but that's a little bit more walking for him. Are restarts available in this tourney? I don't think so. I have not seen a single restart overall, but I don't think there is. I just don't think that there is a restarts here, and I wouldn't like it. Even if there was, it's 4 minutes 14 seconds, so usually restarts can be called until the 4-minute mark. That has passed, so we're not going to see a restart. And I think even if there was restarts, the reason why Max wouldn't call a restart yet is because look at what Max sees right now. This is the reason why Max would not call a restart. He doesn't know that he has his back against the wall. He doesn't know that there is no reasonable gold mines that are workable for him. He doesn't know where Liereyy is at. If there was a gold mine here and Liereyy was here, Max would be more than happy with his map. Reality is that that's not the case, and by the time he figures out he has an awful map, he's in trouble, and this is Lierey's water buffalo, and he lost track of it. So from this point on, Liereyy should know that Max is here. Liereyy probably knows that Max is here, and Max will figure it out as well. So both players are now aware of each other, and this is where things will start becoming really problematic for Max. So, this is going to be rough here for our blue player. Tower rush could technically be a possibility, but as I said, the problem that Max is facing is that Liereyy has all this space to fall back to. A stone mine over here, a gold mine over here, or even here. Max just cannot chase Liereyy with towers. And on the other side, Max has no reasonable gold mine to work with. Like, the best thing that Max would really achieve is, like, establish a forward position here and secure this gold for himself. Like, get a tower up here and get a tower up here, and then just try to play standard and hold this position so at least he has resources. But this map is absolutely horrendous for Max here. Also, looking at the scouting of Max, it's very, very limited because he only had one water buffalo, and finding herdables at the beginning of Nomad games is very important, as you need those for scouting. Look at the other side. Liereyy had, I think, 2 water buffaloes at the beginning, and he was able to scout a lot more. So he's got a very, very good vision, knows about additional backup gold and stone mines, so he knows exactly where to go in case he loses some of his resources. Now, Max, harnessing the power of Malians, he's already at 6 fishing ships, which is massive, whereas for Liereyy, he only went for 2 fishing ships, so Lierey's fishing income isn't amazing. He's on gold, so chances are we're going to see fire galleys from Liereyy over here, going for a pretty fast Feudal with 2 one pop, and we're gonna have a second lumber camp coming in as well. Now, I don't think that Liereyy knows about dock of Max, and that's an advantage for Max here. Because if Liereyy knew that Max's dock is here, he would send a galley first. because he's gonna beat Max to Feudal Age by a massive margin, so it's probably better to send a galley and quickly destroy the fishing ships before they can actually become a factor. Looks like Max is gonna play with a second dock here, I believe. That's why this villager is moving out. And now the question is, where is Max going to mine gold at? Because this is the moment where Max is gonna find this gold mine, and this is the gold mine of sadness. By the way, Liereyy is gonna have a dock nearby, so chances are that this villager might actually bump into this gold mine at some point. So Liereyy may become aware of this, but yeah, it's not ideal when your TC is here on the left and your gold mine is here in the middle of the map. So Liereyy is up to Feudal, opens with a fire galley over here, bidaxe, and he even skipped loom in favor of getting up to Feudal Age a little faster. And he's apparently going to play standard water here to just secure the water, get the fishing eco rolling. Remember that Max has 7 fishing ships. And that is going to be a massive, massive economical advantage for Max, if you think about it. Max is up to Feudal, but by the time Liereyy finds his fishing eco, I feel like Max is going to be able to get a massive advantage in food. And I would dare to say that there's a chance that Max could just basically play a fast casual-ish style play here. If you think about it, his food count is already looking really awesome for a Castle Age, and Liereyy is nowhere close to finding his fishing eco right now. You see that, in fact, Liereyy is going the wrong way. As unlucky as Max got with the town center spot, he's getting very lucky with Liereyy going the wrong way. Because both of those fire guys are coming in this direction, but that's not the case. That's the wrong spot, and this buys so many precious moments for the Max. Because every moment those fishing ships are alive is a massive, massive advantage here for our blue player. So really, the fact that those are over there is just enormous. Anyways, that means that Max could technically think about going for a Castle Age. It looks like he's gonna play Scouts though. So he wants to be a little bit more aggressive. That could make some sense, as it looks like Lierey's fishing eco is now exposed and it is going to have to migrate. But I think what I would love to see from Max is actually trying to get to Castle Age and then going for a Castle Drop. He has the better fishing eco, so he should be able to beat Liereyy to Castle Age, then go for Stone, and then Castle Drop Liereyy. Because that would make or create so much chaos that it would suddenly become a relatively even game despite the bad position of Max on the map. A castle here would pretty much allow Max to mine that gold as well. And indeed, that's what Max is thinking. First, it's gonna be towers. It's gonna be scouts and towers. But then he will probably think about the castle eventually. And indeed, here comes the first sneaky tower from Max. He's gonna try to tower this woodland, which will definitely limit Lierey's wood income, although he has a second one over here. Liereyy is very heavy on fire galleys now. It's 6 versus 5, but Max has some of his fire galleys on the north, whereas Liereyy has most of them on the south. Max will need a demo, and Max's fishing ships are sort of going in the wrong way. Max? That is one way to lose a game. What is he doing? This would have been so avoidable. He wasn't paying attention to his fishing ships, and now the demo is gonna be very inefficient in connection, and that is a massive blunder for Max here. Because now he's in serious trouble. He got completely distracted here. I think he was trying to probably focus on dealing with Lierey's wood income with the scouts and towers, but that's just gonna mean that his fishing eco now has to migrate. He has to get a couple more demos out, but right now it's 7 fishing ships and 1 demo from Liereyy versus merely 1 fire galley from the opponent. Liereyy has just 1 fire galley here. Now, truth being told, that tower, if it goes up for Max, he's going to cause a lot of chaos at Lierey's base, and Liereyy doesn't even have a spearman. Nothing. Liereyy cannot stop this tower. So chances are that if Max doesn't lose his fishing eco soon, he's gonna be able to keep it up, because guess what? Liereyy is losing will after will, even though the villager count is still pretty even. Now Max, however, he only is building this one with 1 villager, and it looks like this tower isn't going up. More villas are coming, and the water buffalo accompanying them. The holy water buffalo leading the way to get this tower up. And we're gonna go to good old-fashioned Nomad villager fighting. Still, the fact that that is villager fighting is distracting Liereyy quite a bit, and that means that Max has completely untouched fishing over here, whereas Liereyy has lost some of his fishing eco, though not all of it. Liereyy has managed to get some fishing eco on the south, and that could be a life-saving belt for him right now. The tower is up, and it is relatively close to going down, but there's more scouts arriving, so there's a chance Max can keep... Nope, he cannot keep this tower up. So this was a very, very short-lived tower over here. He still is trying to pump out some more scouts, just to kill villagers, but remember that behind this one, Liereyy is destroying the fishing eco of his opponent here. Slow and steady, so Max is down to only 4 fishing ships. Whereas for Liereyy, look at this, 8 fishing ships now. Liereyy is having a massive fish boom, something that Max cannot do anything against. And that is a massive difference in between the two players here now. Because sure enough, Max has the advantage on land, but Liereyy has enough advantage on water to secure his own fishing eco and prevent Max from having a good one. Max only has 4 fishing ships, as I said, and Liereyy is now up to 10. That's why we have an 8 villagers lead for Liereyy. So, part of that is idle time on Max's TC, part of that is the 10 extra fishing ships for Liereyy here. It looks like now that the tower goes up, this gold mine is going to be a little bit more problematic, so Max may still have a chance to reclaim water here, but now Liereyy is the one that looks very good on resources, and with that being kept in mind, I think Liereyy could just go for a castle here, or I mean not the castle itself, but castle age. He doesn't have gold income right now, so probably he doesn't want to just buy himself up, but as things stand, Liereyy tries to trap these villas in here, will be unsuccessful, but he manages to just stab down one of the ladies. And that's already another villager lost here from Max. Look at that untouched fishing eco here for Liereyy. This is just a massive fish boom, that's it. And that is what is fueling Lierey's war economy. He's got 14 eco on food, 12 of them are fishing ships. That explains how important that is for Liereyy. And with a blacksmith coming in, I am fairly certain we're going to see Castle Age being planned here by Liereyy. Look at that! He once again traps those villas in there, but realistically speaking, he took the first hit on his vill. So I think Max is winning this fight, unless Liereyy opens up the walls and brings in another lady to fight this one. Scouts also running around, Liereyy is chasing with a huge amount of villas, and then Liereyy is the one trapping those villas in there. Look at that! That is unbelievable! Now there's apparently an escape path over here for the other villagers, so he's gonna get away. And behind this one, Max is now killing a huge amount of villas from Liereyy. Absolute chaos. But if you look at the resources, despite Liereyy losing all those villas, he has lost 12, 13 villagers in this game already and only killed 6. He is still leading eco-wise, and he's the one that's gonna click into Castle Age first. Although Max is about to buy himself up, there is a chance here still for Max. If Liereyy cannot do much with his Castle Age advantage, Max could try to go for a couple of knights and castle drop Liereyy. That's his only shot. And with this many villagers now going down for Liereyy, hold on for a moment. Because, sure enough, Liereyy has fishing eco here, but Liereyy is down to 26 villas. It's two very, very different economies here. Lierey's got 26 villas, 13 fishing ships. Max has 34 villas, 4 fishing ships. So, with that many villagers lost, now the villager count is dead even, and the castle age times are also pretty similar. Looks like Max is only keeping 3 on stone here, though. So, he has started adding farms, and that's basically it. Bloodlines coming in for his scout, as Liereyy is now adding archers to deal with this one. Looks like this house is just gonna be here to keep those archers out. And it might actually happen. Fire Galley joining the party over here. Liereyy will delete the walls and go for a mining camp in this one. Probably will be towered by Max instantly. Remember, Liereyy doesn't have gold income. Although, now that Liereyy has this tower up, it looks like it's going to be able to destroy Max's tower. Max doesn't have the stone to rebuild it. But looks like Max is just going to buy a bit of a stone, drop a tower here immediately. And he will probably try to drop a tower a little bit further back here, just to keep denying this gold mine. Behind this one, Liereyy still has an insane fishing eco, but Max also has his fishing eco alive. He still has 4 fishing ships to work with, so I guess it's something. Once again, the gold mine is gonna get denied, but Liereyy will just go back on the original one, sort of jumping back and forth between these. Fun fact, with all these walls and buildings around, these villagers, if they mine gold from this side... Oh, there is a gap, okay, that's fine. I thought there is no gap between the gold mine and the blacksmith, so they have to walk all the way around, but nope, there is a gap here so they can walk in there. Crossbowman coming in here for Liereyy, and he might be able to afford Bodkin Arrow as well. Siege Workshop and a Monastery coming in for Max. And why do I have a feeling that we're going to see a Monk and Siege Rush here by our resident Finn? Also, another tower here on the wood line just for the good measure, you know. We have gotten used to that already. As Lierey's fishing eco is slowly running out of food that's close to him, and that's something that is worth monitoring. Because one thing is sure, as Liereyy is getting a villager burnt alive here by a fire galley. So one thing is sure, the distance that these fishing ships will have to travel is bigger and bigger, and that's going to decrease the efficiency of Lierey's food eco. Whereas for Max, he's got at least a couple of farms to work with, namely 2, and he's also on berries. So the consistency of Max's food income might be slightly better at the end in this one. And look at Max. Max is gonna be the one that starts moving to the right side. I like that quite a bit, because Liereyy currently is cornered within his own base, and it's so awkward to see that the player that started in such an awful spot, very much cornered in here, is actually the one that corners the opponent. Because now Liereyy is the one that is sort of surrounded here with towers and other nasty stuff over here, as Max is expanding to the right side, and that expansion could actually come very, very handy for him. Because there's a huge amount of unclaimed resources around that area, as currently Max is trying to deny the repair villagers, and he's yoinking that relic immediately. He's like, relic, I take. Liereyy coming in here with another town center, as the outpost will go unfinished, but this might actually tell Max that there is going to be something happening over here. I think Liereyy is going to start mining stone so he can actually work towards Mangadai. Meanwhile though, since there is a hole here, it looks like the scouts and the knights are able to break in. Max also gets a conversion on a spearman here, so now he could send in his scouts to deal with the monks, and I think that's exactly what he's working on. The mangonel is now targeting the monks. It looks like the scouts will be coming back as well to deal with the monks over here. The knights shouldn't come back though, that's a bit of a misplay there from Max, but he's not gonna get punished for that. And now, by the way, this ibex has been domesticated here, officially. Completely surrounded by houses and palisade walls, only to be liberated by these fire galleys. 30C coming in here for Max as well, as he's colonizing the right side of the map here. The mangonel casually inside Lierey's base, and just look at how Lierey's base looks like. This is just an absolute mess, as Max yoinks another monk here, as we're gonna have another conversion here on a spearman. And I think Max starts to apply a little bit more pressure than what Liereyy can handle. Liereyy is mining stone here, so if he gets a defensive castle up, things will change really rapidly. Another monk gets picked off, and another one. Max is doing a beautiful job picking off the monks here, and that's sort of vital for this push. Now, the lumber camp gets deleted, so the crossbows can be microed a little bit easier, and the crossbows will pick off the mangonel here. New mangonels are not coming in from the left side, they're coming in from the south, pushing in the town center over here. This is a little too close for comfort for that mangonel, so it's gonna have to retreat for the time being. And here's another mangonel push coming from the right side. This time around though, there is a couple of knights for Liereyy to deal with that, so Max will have to make a monastery on the right side. This feels more like a double Hoang push, honestly. One from the left and one from the right. But behind this one, remember that Lierey's fishing eco is getting more and more inefficient. Look at this dock! Look at this dock for Liereyy! It's right next to Max's base. Max does not see the dock, he sees the villager with the house, but I guess he's too busy microing his stuff over here. as the monk is gonna get a conversion in before going down to the knight and the crossbowman. But still, at this point, Max could make a tower here and just deny those fishing ships from dropping off the food. That could be a possibility. The mangonel misses the shot and the knights take down the mangonel, so Liereyy is now on a counterattack. He's getting close to dropping a castle. A castle probably around this area could be pretty nice, because that will protect the gold and the stone here for Liereyy. Max adding another town center over here on this wood line. He's the one with the better map control now, and he has a slight eco lead. However, Liereyy is taking better fights overall. We have the knights from Max with +1 defense, bloodlines, only no +2 defense against those crossbowmen, so they will struggle quite a bit against them for the time being. Max is also mining stone, but it is going to be Liereyy that drops the first castle in this game. The question is where, as mangonels are now coming in. A conversion comes in for Max. The other knight will retreat, and the repair villager is coming in as well to push this TC further. Looks like Max will force Liereyy to fall back all the way to the right side, and when Liereyy falls back to the right side, I think Max is just gonna push the left. There's a two-pronged attack over here on Liereyy, but he's getting very close to dropping a castle here. Max is not super far away either, as Liereyy sends in a scout to deal with the monk. The knights will be able to save the monk, and the crossbowmen aren't focusing the monk either. So it very much seems like Max is saving that monk over there. Look at that. Is he Neo from Matrix juking all those arrows? The answer is no, because now he ends up falling to the crossbowman. But still, the fact that Max was able to force Liereyy to make a defensive castle over here is actually pretty nice for Max, I believe. Because Max wants to push this angle. And I think that Max will just make a castle here to contain Lierey's expansion, and then push from the left. The Mangonel comes in here, gets a nice connection, as Liereyy gets a conversion on a knight. Castle goes up, and from this point on, the Manga Dive will definitely be problematic for Max to deal with. I would expect Max to drop a castle here in the foreseeable future. Alternative is that he could castle drop Liereyy at this angle. That could also be a possibility. Currently, Max is a massive eco lead, by the way. 92 wheels versus 74. And that shouldn't be overlooked. Still, the unit composition in the long run is going to be better for Liereyy. Mangadai is just insanely hard to stop, but indeed, Max is just going to say, okay, whatever, you can get that castle up on the right side, I'm just going to castle drop you. And still, the fact that Max has his base over here and his base over here means that Liereyy cannot really expand right now. And with a castle here, Liereyy is going to be in trouble for wood control. Remember, this tower has went down, so Liereyy can fall back over here, but it's not like Liereyy has a huge amount of resources to work with soon. He's running short of gold over here, this gold mine is still denied, and this is the next closest gold for Liereyy. And that is looking pretty grim for Liereyy, if you ask me. He's gonna have some serious issues controlling resources, and now, with the knights running around his base with +2 defense, his eco is gonna get raided. And he only has 4 Mangadai. Producing Mangadai is a serious bottleneck over here. Once you get a good number of them up, it's a great force, but until then, Max can just overrun you with knights. Same thing as I said in the previous game, if Slavs can overrun Huns with knights or scouts before Huns get to Cav archers, then Slavs can win that matchup. Same thing here with Malians versus Mongols. As Max is almost ready to drop a second castle, that should be around this area, I believe. Maybe here could be an idea, or this one would be the best spot overall as the Mangonels arrive to take down the Veils. This is a bad fight for Max here though. Loses the Mangonel, loses 4 monks without a conversion. This is the definition of an awful fight here for Max. Nonetheless, he's got a 20 villagers lead. He's getting closer to Imperial, which should also be monitored, because if he gets to Imp, he's gonna have traps and he can suddenly start taking down buildings at a much more rapid pace. He's almost ready to drop a second castle over here. The water is still in the hands of Liereyy, and Max is just gonna say, okay, enough of that. I'm gonna get some docks up here and start pushing your fishing eco. Remember, quite a significant portion of Lierey's eco is in the form of fish. So 15 fishing ships, if all of them go down, he's gonna be down to 80 vills. Max, in the meanwhile, will actually spot the stone mining operation here, and he will just probably try to deny that with either a tower or a castle or just knights being sent over there. Liereyy now using the power of the Mangudai to get some raids in, but without ballistics, without tumbling, those units aren't necessarily perfect. And it looks like Max is just gonna play for wood control here. Another castle drop coming in on the wood line of Liereyy. He starts to feel like Liereyy is seriously bottlenecked by wood. Nice quick trap over there by Max to prevent the Mangudai from escaping in that direction. I think Max might try a trap here as well. Nope, that's not the case. The Mangudai will just keep running around. Imperial Age on the way for Max as well, as I see Light Cav being pecked into. That's the long-term thing here for Imba Light Cav. Will be the solution, probably. Liereyy wants another castle here, though, to force away Max from this position, as Max is mangoing down the villagers over there. We got the Mangudai running in the wrong direction, though, as indeed he got the trap in here. We're gonna rewind this because we actually missed out on that action. But if you look at this, the Mangudai were coming over here, and Max actually ends up getting the trap. This wasn't an easy one. Gets the siege workshop, gets the stone wall, and then this means that the Mangudai will be forced to run this direction. I also see increasing amounts of camos from Max, which could allow him to deal with the early Mangudai. And now with this castle up here, this wood line is also denied. Liereyy expanding to the right side over here, pushing Max away from this position, so Max will have to mass migrate now. Once we are back with the live feed, the speed is going to decrease as well. So don't worry, we're not skipping a lot of stuff here. We just need to catch up because of the live feed. But remember what I said before. In the first part of the game, it very much felt like Liereyy is the one that has the chance to expand more. Now it's Max. And Max is grabbing War Galley so that his fire galleys will be able to destroy the fishing ships here. And destroying that would be massive. A significant portion of Lierey's eco is in the form of fishing ships, so destroying that would be enormous. And there is gonna be a 2 minutes imp advantage as well for Max, so that he can start trapping down castles, TCs. This is the imp TC of Liereyy, so that's probably gonna stay up. But I would say that for Max, the name of the game is getting traps out immediately and trapping down TCs. He knows exactly that Liereyy will try to imp himself, so what he needs to do is try to trap down TCs and prevent an Imperial Age from his opponent. Also, he needs either Farimba Cavalier or Farimba Camels, as now Lierey's fishing eco is going to be sort of inefficient in this one. Another castle comes in here for Liereyy. Max lost his forward position over here, but he's got a lot of light cav here. He's massing light cavalry here to jump out and get some raids done on Lierey's eco. Manganol still denying this gold mine from Liereyy, and it seems like we're actually going to see the traps taking down the castles, which also makes some sense. Limiting the Mangudai production could be a game plan here for Max, but he needs to have more traps, I believe. He needs like 2 more traps so he can actually quickly take down those castles. Remember that Mangudai will just snipe your traps in Imperial. They could already try doing that in Castle Age, as Liereyy, he still has this forward villager around, gets a stable up on the far left side of the map, and that stable has some knights in it to raid the eco of Max. The first castle is about to fall here for Liereyy, limiting him to only 2. Mangudai numbers are at 18 and they are increasing, so those traps will soon be sniped, I believe, by Liereyy. This might be the moment for that. Still, as I said, Max has some light cab over here to jump out and keep raiding. Probably he's gonna do it when Liereyy is distracted. And here come the Mangudai, sniping the trap, and it looks like Max isn't going to notice that. That is 1 trap down from Max. Botkin arrow coming in as well for Max. Maybe just for his castles, honestly, so he's got a better range. As now the light cap pop out. He waited until the Mangudai went to the left and then popped out the light cap, but that didn't work out that well. Still, Farimba light caps gives you a very good opportunity at being a cost-efficient trading unit, and you see Mali and Elite Skirms will hit the field. Mali and Elite Skirms that are lacking Bracer, but that's the only upgrade they are lacking, I believe. They might be lacking Thumb Ring as well, I'm not so sure about that. But anyways, Malian's skirmishers are not ideal, but they work okay. because they will take okay engagements against the Mangudai, and that's all that Max needs. It's going to be more cost efficient to just spam skirms than it is for Liereyy to replace the Mangudai, and indeed, Liereyy just taps out. I don't think this is a crash or a drop. This feels like a GG here, because looking at Liereyy, I'm not 100% sure why he tapped out in this one, so I'm gonna double check if it's a crash or not. But I don't see any information about that one, so it very much seems like this wasn't a crash, this was a GG here. And if you look at the score, that kind of explains it, I guess. Although I think Liereyy wasn't necessarily in an awful spot, because Mangudai are so powerful that he could just hold those traps back forever. But he probably felt like his eco was just not there. I mean, he's 132 population. And, I mean, Liereyy has wood to work with. He doesn't have wood bank right now, but he definitely has wood lines to work with. So, yeah, no elite Mangudai, no armor upgrades on them. Not even ballistics and thumb ring. Maybe that's why he felt like he's so much behind. And sure enough, Lierey's eco wasn't nice, but I don't think this was completely over. At this point, I think Max would have had like an 80% chance of winning this, maybe even 85. But Liereyy definitely wasn't completely dead. We have seen comebacks from situations like this. So he would have had a solidified defense here. And remember, Mangudai are insanely hard to deal with. So that's a GG here. And we are gonna have Max with the game in his hand. Match point for Max. And you guys have been asking this. You guys have been asking this for some time. Is Max back? He might be. He might be back. We're going straight into game number 4 over here, though, as that is going to be the second home map of Liereyy here. We are at Atacama. After this set, right away, we will start with the next set, the next quarterfinals, which is Tato versus Mr. Yo. We'll probably have to catch up on that because thanks to the fact that this set was delayed, the second set, they couldn't delay it, and that means that the first games will overlap. We're not going to switch away from this set because we want to see the end of this one, but then we'll have to do a catch-up on that. That's what the admin said, basically. Alright, Atacama coming in here. Franks for Max in blue, and we're gonna have red. Khmer for Liereyy in red. So we will have probably my favorite civilization for this map in Lierey's hands. Khmer allows you to jump into houses, which is a massive advantage on such an open map. In this one, Liereyy is the master of Atacama, so he really loves this map. Whenever it's available in the map pack, it's one of his home maps usually, as it looks like Max will go to the middle right away with his first lumberjack. Liereyy is going for the middle as well, I believe, but if he chooses this wood line, that's gonna be very underwhelming. This would be a much better wood line to work with, and he could even easily wall it off. So this is a much better wood line to work with. Let's see what Liereyy decides upon. It looks like he's going for this one, but this is not a good wood line for Liereyy in the long run. I mean, it's hard to tower, and that's a positive thing here for Liereyy, but that's the only positive I can say about this one. Either of these two would have been slightly better for our red player here. So, for now, it seems like Max is pushing into the air for himself. He is free on wood, so no surprising shenanigans here, just standard scouts build. Liereyy is only 2 on wood, but that's pretty standard for Khmer if they don't go for barracks. They would just go for a stable and just pure scouts. But if they don't go for a barracks, that means that they will have trouble dealing with spearmen early on. I think in most cases what we're going to see is probably stable and archer range, and they will just go for like scouts and then later on a couple of skirms to pick off the opponent's spears. That's the way they're going to deal with them. So both players for now just pushing in the air, fairly standard stuff. I am gonna fast forward over here as I said, I think we were like half a minute late jumping into this game and it's Dark Age, so might as well do a catch up while we can. I don't know how much we are behind, but I don't think we're behind by that much. We did some sort of run back. We actually are quite a bit behind here. Probably because we did some rewinding and we probably had the discussion as well on other stuff. So that is the reason why we were a little bit behind, but now we're all good. There is some spectator delay as well, so we have to keep that in mind, but now we're completely caught up. I guess Dark Age was the appropriate time to do that. So, as I said, Liereyy using houses as tools to protect his villagers is something I really like, and one of the reasons why I think Khmer is probably the best, or at least my favorite civilization for this map. There's a lot of good civs for this one, but if I would ever have to play this map, I would probably pick Khmer in this one. So, looks like Max is gonna go for a stable close to his wood line, so he can actually pump out the scouts there to help out protect his vills. He's gonna be pretty heavy on wood here, isn't he? Yeah, that's 11 on wood. That's a 1 more vill than you would normally see in the case of a scouts build. And the scouts are now popping out for both sides. Still, Liereyy is going to be able to protect his vills really easily here. It's going to be almost impossible for Max to raid the economy of Liereyy. And that is going to be a massive problem to overcome. So far it is 3 scouts for Liereyy, 2 only for Max. Remember, Max has the extra HP on that scout for now though. Now, here's the deal though, and that's something to consider. This is an interesting debate always to bring up, because Franks have more HP on their scouts in the beginning of Feudal Age, but they don't have bloodlines on their scout. So, do Franks have 9 more HP compared to standard scouts, or do they have 11 less? And that's a massive debate to consider, because in early Feudal, sure enough, this is an advantage, but if the opponent grabs bloodlines, it suddenly becomes a disadvantage that you have the Frankish scouts. So there is sort of a trade-off here for Franks. Obviously, having Horse Color for free helps quite a bit. As you see, Liereyy is without Horse Color right now, so his farms are going to be a little bit more inefficient. Whereas for Max, he gets Horse Color for free, so his economy is going to be a little bit more efficient in the long run. But on the other hand, you got Khmer farming, which is insanely powerful. So I think that I like Lierey's Civ here a lot better. Khmer farming, the ability to jump into houses, the fact that you will have bloodlines compared to the opponent is all a massive, massive thing. So, scouts now coming in as the first wave over here. They weren't able to pressure the wood line, so they're gonna go for the food. There is Voz on the berries and there is spearmen around, so they shouldn't be able to get much done over here. Scouts from Max though coming in to jump on the wood line. There's a spearman as well, but Liereyy will be able to jump into houses. This is why Khmer is the best civ probably for this map, or at least in my perspective. Like, your eco is virtually unraidable. So, for the time being, it looks like Max is just gonna keep adding farms here, as he's definitely gonna have problems against huge amount of scouts, and currently he's facing huge amount of scouts. Interesting to see that the defense upgrade comes in first for Liereyy. Oftentimes in scout versus scout wars, you actually prioritize forging, But the reason why he's getting a defense upgrade is because he already has forging. Something I didn't even see him grabbing. That's the power of Khmer farming. He's got 7 scouts with +1/+1. And on the other side, I mean, Max, he doesn't have a single upgrade on his scouts. And it's not like he has an awful civilization. He's got Franks, but Khmer is just a different level. As now the scouts will try to dive in. Wherever I'm looking at here in this game, I just feel like this is just Liereyy written all over the place. Not necessarily because Max is playing bad, it's because Lierey's civilization is much more well suited for this type of a map here. As you see, those scouts already have +1/+1, so they're gonna be much more confident jumping spearmen. And they do indeed. 4 scouts still remain as another spearman comes in. Now these are not necessarily efficient fights for Liereyy because he's slowly losing the HP on those scouts to the spearmen, which is far from ideal. But it very much seems like Max isn't really consistently producing scouts here. Which makes me wonder if he wants to go up to Castle Age. Remember one thing. He cannot have Bloodlines, and now that Bloodlines is coming in for Liereyy, he can no longer win the Scout War. So he might just try to tank this out with Spearmen and just go into Castle Age. Tries to go for a counter raid here with only 2 scouts, but they probably won't do much. Nice quick wall there from Max as a market is on the way. Market is also an interesting decision, keep that in mind. He doesn't have a blacksmith. Max also goes for a defensive tower on his gold mine, so indeed it kind of feels like he just wants to sit behind walls, go for defensive towers, and just go for a castle age here. Max is going to face archers though soon, because Liereyy is already getting fletching and he's got archer range up with archers popping out, so the only way Max survives this one is if he has defensive towers and walls. Now Liereyy is going to lose quite a lot of scouts here, so I'm not saying that these fights are efficient for Liereyy by any means. In fact, they seem quite inefficient despite the fact that he's technically grinding down the spearman numbers. He's losing quite a lot of scouts as well in the process. Still, look at this little zoo of gold miners as Max is trying to tank this out somehow to get to Castle Age, but I just really don't see Max being able to get to Castle Age safely here. That just feels a little too ambitious right now. So, Max is now up to 6 gold miners, and I think we're going to see him idle his TC so that he can go up into Castle Age. For now, so far Liereyy wasn't really able to do that much damage, and Max, with a good old-fashioned market abuse, we are gonna have him going into Castle Age. Looks like Liereyy is going to pressure the wood line here, but that's, I think, good for Max, because Max can just do some contingency walls behind. This is definitely relatively easy to contain. He's gonna just wall it off with a second stable, and I think Liereyy now knows that Max is up, because he sees the second stable. And if you think about it, a second stable, when your opponent isn't really making scouts in Feudal, is an indication that he's going into Castle Age. And that's exactly the case. This is a clear indication that Max is going into Castle Age, and Liereyy should know. But this is where the ugly things start to begin. That's Khmer farming eco you're up against, and look at that. Liereyy is not gonna be that much far behind into Castle Age, and with that many scouts, he might even go for the light cav upgrade, as he's probably gonna switch into crossbows, or at least get the crossbow upgrade for his archers, now that he has invested this much into going for archers. But as things stand, Max is still technically safe. Liereyy not dropping a tower here on his wood line, so he is gonna have his wood line being safe for the time being. 1 minute away from Castle Age is Max. The question is, what can he do with Castle? He needs a defensive upgrade as well for his soon-to-be knights. And he doesn't even have a blacksmith right now. So, yeah, sure enough, if he goes up to Castle Age without even scaleboarding, then that Castle Age isn't gonna be worth that much, because his knights will be made out of cardboard. But anyways, looks like the blacksmith is coming in. That scaleboarding is gonna be disgustingly late though. And that hurts. That hurts really badly here for Max. Like, this upgrade should have been finished by the time he reaches Castle Age, because he wants to grab chainboarding immediately. Nonetheless, he's gonna have an opportunity to destroy these archers before Liereyy gets into Castle, and that's what matters. For him, Still, Liereyy is probably just gonna sound retreat here with the remaining scouts he has. He still has a decent amount of HP in duels, but some of them are fairly weak as the knights pop out. And Max is doing what he has to. He has to deal with the archers here at the beginning, and then just try to play standard knights versus knights war. Max should also fight these scouts, I believe, because obviously at this point Liereyy is more than happy to throw away his scouts against the knights, but I think that it's better for Max to just destroy those, because if it turns into a knight versus knight war, then monks will be an important factor, so killing those leftover Feudal Age scouts is actually pretty valuable. Second TC coming in here for Max as he bought a bit of a stone to add that. And it looks like Liereyy is gonna play light cav indeed. Second stable is a little bit late for him, and it looks like he's not gonna get any upgrades for those archers. He's just gonna stick with archers for the time being. Here comes Max, Liereyy reacts in time, and this is why I said that fighting against those scouts could have been a reasonable idea before for Max, because now he's facing light cav that will soon have +2 attack as well, and even husbandry coming in here. Max's stables are once again not continuously producing knights, so this is why Liereyy has doubled the army compared to Max. So, knights on the way. Once again, and this could be a nice window for Max to do some damage, although it looks like now we're gonna have some knights out. And elephants. I'm not sure if that elephant is a misclick, but Khmer elephants are no joke, so it could even be the primary unit for Liereyy. If you think about it, elephants and light cav is perfectly fine, because you can just deal with the monks with using your light cav. Now, Liereyy is going to lose some more vills here on the farming eco, something that he didn't notice, that's -2 vills. And one thing that Liereyy doesn't have is farms reseeded. On the other hand, he's not diving into Max's food eco, and Max just, in general, has no farming eco right now. Like, nothing. And with no farming eco, you can't make more knights. If you can't make more knights, you're gonna get overrun by more from the opponent. This is exactly what we have seen in the Acropolis game. Just keep sending in wave after wave of light cavalry knights, raid the food eco, force Max to garrison, and when Max is garrisoned, he's not gathering food. And see, no food for Max, he can make more knights. Even if these light cav get killed, Liereyy is gonna have a reasonable resource income so that he's actually able to pump out at least a couple of knights now that this knight has been cleaned up from the eco. Max did a nice job with the counter raid here on the wood line, but I don't think that it was enough to compensate for the idle time that he has suffered from, and from the villager losses as well. 5-5 is the villager KD. Both players with 2 TCs right now. So here comes the light cav push once again. Max has to jump into the TC. Max would really benefit from at least some walls in the front here, because that would prevent these light caps from having such a freedom running around his economy, because this is not something that he can actually afford to happen. Anyways, big knight fight here on the left side as well. This knight is apparently derping out mid-motion. Okay, he's not really willing to fight, and he's gonna get punished for it. Gets killed by the knight over there. Max, while he's fighting that though, he's losing his entire economy. He's down to 39 villagers. And sure enough, he cleaned this one up, but I feel like the story will soon end here in this game, because he's just gonna get raided to death. It's the same thing as we had in the Acropolis game. Just raid after raid of light cavalry or knights, and Max is just gonna be unable to get food. Like, Max has 1 villager on food right now. He lost so many over here. Liereyy has 14 villager kills, Max has just 5. So, really, at this point, it looks like Max is switching focus with a double monks play. The problem that he's facing is that Liereyy already has light cav researched. So, Liereyy can easily just go for light cav and overrun his opponent with light cav. He doesn't need knights or elephants here. By the way, Max is a converted elephant. So, it looks like Liereyy will once again be under a bit of a pressure, but he's gonna apply more than what he's suffering from. And that is what's going to start pushing him to an even better spot. Bit of a raiding here by Max, but as I said, the importance of this one is limited, whereas this one is much more devastating from Liereyy, I would say. The elephant was just baiting Max into monks. I'm not sure if that was intentional or a misclick. Could be anything. Maybe a bait into monks, although I don't think that you have to bait Max into monks, because there would have been knights on the field anyways, and it makes some sense to add monks against those either. But now Max's eco is collapsing. 44 villagers, but like 20 of them are idle. 11 army against 19. And as I said, oh, cav archers. I actually like that quite a bit. Khmer cav archers aren't amazing, but they are a reasonable force. And in general, Franks struggle quite badly against cav archers, so could make some sense to use them as a raiding force, as that is Lierey's master plan here. He's going for Botkin Arrow. Obviously, without a lot of upgrades, they will still struggle, but if you think about it, they will have bloodlines, they will have husbandry, so at least there is that for Liereyy. So, at this point, this is gonna be a proper Hoang rush from Max. No economy, just go for the monks and mangonels push, but I think Liereyy is just gonna wait for the opportunity to jump on that army. And behind this one, as I said, Max's economy is sort of non-existent. And indeed, as I'm saying that, Liereyy is taking game number 4 here. So far, each player has won their own respective home maps, and remember, Max won Arabia. So all he needs to do is just win his own home map, which is easier said than done, because it's going to be 4 lakes, which is, I would say, a map where Liereyy feels probably at least moderately comfortable. I'm not saying that it is his best map, but 4 lakes is a fairly traditional standard map, something that could favor even Liereyy. So I'm not saying that there is a bad chance here for Liereyy to turn this one around. One thing is sure, he decisively won this map, basically copy-paste the second game. Higher APM, raiding the economy, and just overall having a better economy than the opponent is what snowballed the game over here. And with that, it is an even score now. We're going back into the lobby, and let's see if they launched the next game over here, which is the final game of the set. After this, as I said, Mr. Yo versus Tato starting almost immediately, so basically without any major break. We're getting ready to jump into next game indeed. They already launched it. 4 lakes, Japanese versus Persians. Here we go. For a chance to play in the semifinals, the winner is going to get into the semifinals. The loser is out. Liereyy will be playing as red Japanese to the south, and to the north, we're gonna have Max as blue Persians. Sort of 2 predictable civilizations, a matchup that we see very frequently on this map. Persians versus Japanese can go either way, as Persian knights can easily overrun Japanese archers with the extra attack against archers, but Japanese with the pikeman play of theirs, it is going to be devastating as Persian knights. So the thing is that this is a civilization matchup that can go either way. I probably slightly prefer Japanese for being able to keep your fishing eco alive. On the other hand, Lierey's map looks very much open. Look at this. He has absolutely zero chance to wall the front of his base. Woodlines at the back are nice, but all of his gold is sort of on the right side. Very exposed, hard to protect. The berries are also quite exposed, I would say. Max's map isn't that much better either, to be honest, but at least he's got a chance to maybe wall off this left side and then wall like this in between the house and the wood line, so he can protect his gold. But both of the players have very, very open maps. If Max isn't walling that much, then that should favor Liereyy for the reasons we have seen before. But first off, we will have to figure out who is going to try and sneak a dock upon the opponent. In this one, we already have the first dock coming in here for Max. Whereas for Liereyy, he's gonna have a villager sent in the next couple of moments as well. Secretly Rubenstock playing? Nope. If Rubenstock was playing, we already would have seen like 3 TC drops. But anyways, for now, Max has swiftly pushed in all of his deer. and now is looking to scout his opponent in this one. He might try to delay that dock, because as things stand, Liereyy still hasn't sent a docking villager, and considering that Lierey's scout is nearby, I don't think that Max can actually kill a villager here, although did he see the veil? I think he may have seen the veil here. He should know that dock is coming up, and this could be enormous, because Liereyy is sending his scout forward. If Liereyy had his scout close by, this villager would survive, but unless he pulls a massive quick wall here, it's not gonna happen. Liereyy is known for his quick walls, and I'm throwing away my mind here. The Liereyy quick walls. And now he's bringing back the scout and brings another villager to make dock. The delay definitely happened, but Max is not gonna be able to pick that villager off. Just Liereyy things. And as things stand, Lierey's gonna bring back his scout, so Max will have to leave here. Can he even leave, though? Okay, yeah, he can. He can run away. Beautiful quick wall there from Liereyy. And with that, he's gonna get his dock up, but it was delayed. As you see, there's already a fishing ship out for Max, so Max was able to carve out a bit of a lead from that, as Max is trying to take the hill here to strike down Lierey's scout, and you see that the HPs are pretty close now. So it looks like Max is taking some reasonable hits on his opponent's scout, but this is not a fight that Max can win, right? Or is it? I don't know anymore. It's a one-hit difference, so whoever gets the first hit in is going to win that fight. So they're kind of dancing around with their scouts. So far, one thing that's pretty important is that Liereyy wasn't able to scout the opponent's base. You see that he had to pull his scout back to protect that villager, as this is a smart move from Liereyy, I like that. He drops a house here, which will prevent Max from sneaking a villager around and dropping a dock on this side. This side is still something where you can get a sneaky vill in, but it looks like we don't have any sneaks just yet. So, for the time being, the two scouts will disengage, and it looks like both of the players will be progressing towards Feudal. As things stand, Max is going up at a 224 population, and immediately a barracks. So he's not planning to go for a sneaky villager, he wants to go for land aggression. It looks like Liereyy isn't sneaking either, as he's just gonna drop a lumber camp on this wood line. Try to trap the scout over there. You can tell that Liereyy has bad wood lines when this is his secondary wood line over here. That's just very unlucky for him. This one is a good wood line, but the rest of them are absolutely horrendous. In fact, he doesn't even have any additional reasonable ones. He has to choose between this one and this one. And that gives a fairly big chance for Max to attack Liereyy here, as it looks like we're gonna have an archer play from Max, maybe even men-at-arms. Indeed, men-at-arms is the name of the game, which will be spotted by Liereyy. So Liereyy now knows it's men-at-arms coming his way. Quite unconventional with Persians, especially against Japanese, but something that could have surprised Liereyy. And maybe that was the reason why Max was so motivated to take that scout fight. Maybe he wanted to try and kill Lierey's scout, so that Liereyy cannot actually scout his intentions of going for men-at-arms. And you see the reaction from Liereyy. He immediately goes for walls. He knows exactly that the best way to stop men-at-arms is by walling. So here's the deal though. Max has a pretty decent scouting on the base of his opponent, if you look at this. So he should know that he has a better chance at hitting the right side of Lierey's base than hitting the left side of Lierey's base, I believe. So chances are that these men-at-arms are heading to the right, hitting the gold mine, maybe hitting this wood line over here, as Max is expanding to the right-hand side pond over here. Liereyy looks like he's more than happy to play a single pond game over here. He's just chilling with 5 fishing ships on his own pond. Men-at-arms almost in here, but Liereyy is the archer range. So with the archer range in, you're gonna have a pretty decent tool to deal with those men-at-arms. Quick walls are now coming in here for Liereyy as he yoinked the scout of the Max over there. And I don't think that the Max knows about the other wood line. He definitely doesn't. But he sees the Huntables, and the Huntables is one of the best places you can hit with your men-at-arms or drushes, because those are impossible to quick wall, unlike wood lines or unlike gold mines. And I think that Max could easily just take down those Huntables with the Men-at-Arms as well, if he wants to, sort of just to get some value for those Men-at-Arms. It looks like we're gonna have a Skirmisher to open with for Max, as he's gonna start queuing up archers behind that. It very much seems like Max's Men-at-Arms won't be doing much here, because Liereyy was able to scout them in time. Let's see if Liereyy is going to get some quick walls up here though on this wood line. Yes, just in time. Lierey's quick walls are on point in this game, and that is sort of a life-saving thing here for him right now. Skirms are coming over though from Max, so he wants to keep those Men-at-Arms alive for the time being. Just mix in a couple of skirms and pick off the archers. Try to keep applying pressure with the Men-at-Arms. Max is also expanding to the left-hand side pawn, so keep in mind that he's gonna have an insane fishing eco here going for him. And with the faster working Persian TC and docks, his economy is going to skyrocket here compared to Lierey's one. So here comes the skirmisher as well. No fletching on either side, but the key thing here for Max is just trying to pick off those archers with the skirmisher and avoid his Men-at-Arms being picked off by the archers. So far it seems to moderately work. He's able to pick off some of the archers, and the Men-at-Arms are still alive. So looks like Liereyy could be forced away from the gold mine. I don't think that these Men-at-Arms will be able to inflict a lot of damage because both of them are fairly weak, but it definitely is fighting happening at Lierey's base, and that's exactly what Max wants. Just fight at Lierey's base. Liereyy is grabbing +1/+1 now for his skirms and archers, whereas Max still doesn't have a single upgrade on his skirmishers. In fact, he doesn't even have a blacksmith. He's just now getting that up. But instead, he's fish booming pretty heavily. And that food income is going to have its effect on the game, because he could beat Liereyy to castle age pretty easily using that food eco. Now with the lack of upgrades, he's not gonna have a chance to win this fight over here. So he will probably have to disengage, fall back a little bit, and grab the upgrades. He's adding a stable, so he will switch back into probably first scouts, but then it's going to be knights eventually. Lierey's resources are also looking good though, because while Max has fishing ships scattered across 3 ponds, Liereyy has identical amount of fishing ships that also work faster because they're Japanese on the 1 pond, so it's 9 fishing ships versus 8. That's why Max isn't able to carve out the lead into castle age. In fact, Liereyy is beating him to castle age here, because Liereyy had to invest way less into making new docks. Remember that. So it's only 1 dock, 8 fishing ships versus 3 docks and 9 fishing ships. So for little economical advantage, Max had to invest a lot more. Obviously, when this pawn starts running out for Liereyy, it's going to be problematic, so there is much more long-term value for Max here, but right now, he's the one that falls behind in castle age timing. Part of the reason why is because he's also investing into scouts. Now, if you invest into scouts like that, you want to get some value for it, otherwise it's just going to be a waste of resources, and I kind of feel like Max should have been working towards castle age here a little bit more. Still, as I said, 3 pawns eventually is going to pay off, because you see that now the efficiency of Lierey's fishing is decreasing as the fish gets more further and further away from the docks, plus he's running out of fish in this pond eventually, but he still has an opportunity to just, you know, use that fish and then later on expand to one of the other ponds. Max's skirms, by the way, do not have +1 defense, so they're not actually that competitive against the units of Liereyy here, but that's a nice micro there from Max. Separates the archers and the skirms, and now he dives in on the archers with the skirms and uses the scout to destroy the skirms of Liereyy. That is actually a perfect fight there for Max. He was using the perfect counter units to both of the units from the opponent, and this is exactly the type of fight that Max needed to buy himself some time to get up to castle age. Because now, Liereyy is going for archers once again, but he only has 5 archers producing on double ranges, but this buys some time for Max here. And that's precious time being bought, as he's gonna go all the way up to 3 stable knights in this one. Eco is still slightly better for Max, but he hasn't reached castle age yet, whereas Liereyy has. Still, the fact that these crossbows, or soon-to-be crossbows, are quite low in numbers, and Max has some skirms around. If Max gets +1 defense, he could hold for some time. In fact, it looks like Max is moving forward, and Liereyy might not be expecting this. Because Liereyy tried to move out, and I like that Max is sort of making a suicide run here with the skirms, because that's a suicide run. You're trying to dive in and take a fight before the archers are upgraded to crossbowmen. Now they're crossbows, but you see, Max is getting good value for those skirms. Max is getting great value. He pins Liereyy inside his base, and that's exactly what he needs. Just make sure that Liereyy is not attacking him, because currently he has no tools of defending. Looks like he's just gonna settle with 2 stable knights for time being. As Liereyy grabs Gillnet. Remember that Liereyy only has 1 pawn and Max has 3, so soon the efficiency will start showing for Max. And those knights from Persians will also have bonus damage against archers, so Liereyy is gonna need monks or pikemen in the foreseeable future. Otherwise, he's gonna be in trouble. Elite skirms will be teched into as well by Max. Opens Botkin arrow, in fact, instead of +2 defense, but he's gonna queue up the knights. Add a second TC as well. I like how he's patrolling a fire galley here to prevent a dock drop, although I think patrolling a galley would make more sense, as he's coming in with a forward siege workshop as well. Second TC, 3 pawns. I kind of feel like Max's eco here is going to be way better than the one for Liereyy, and that is an excellent sign, I would say, for a blue player. And with the elite skirms in the party as well, knights joining as well, I think his unit comp is actually better as well. Max has, I think Max had a massive amount of wood in the bank, but he just ended up balancing his eco. In this one, Gillnet's coming in as well for Max, as the second TC is about to finish. Liereyy is playing very, very defensive, focused gameplay here, but I don't think that he can afford to do that, because otherwise, Max will just outboom him. And Max is more than happy to be the aggressor here, because this is a gold mine that he can pressure. The skirmishers are still missing defense upgrades, which makes them somewhat underwhelming against those crossbowmen. So that's something that Max needs to fix. At least he needs +1 defense, but preferably +2. As the mangonels are now coming in, we have seen the Arabia game. We have seen what kind of damage Max can cause with mangonels denying gold mines. And remember, that's the only good gold mine that Liereyy has. It's, in fact, Lierey's only gold mine. This could be very troublesome for Liereyy as the knights break in. They're still missing +2 defense. But soon, Liereyy will be forced to take a fight here, otherwise his gold mine is gonna be gone. Knights are coming in now for Liereyy, something that Max apparently did not expect though. So Max is gonna be like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna take down a couple of vills and be done with it. So that is what Liereyy was hiding. He was hiding the knights, and that completely changes the game here. Because those knights will be just as good as Persian knights in Castle Age, so Max realized that, okay, I gotta have another stable for knights production. Currently it's 21 RB for Liereyy, 12 for Max. Still, if Max gets +1 or +2 defense on those knights, he has 3 TCs rolling for him, he's got 3 pawns to work with, and remember, Liereyy is running out of fish here, he's already working with fish traps. But that's gonna be a pretty massive investment over here for Liereyy. Villager counts are still dead even, so this game is as open as it gets, as the crossbows for Liereyy are now moving up. Still no +2 defense on those knights for Max, which starts to become worrisome though. By the way, Max also has heavy plow in, which feels a little too excessive given the fact that you only have 8 farms. I mean, sure enough, it's going to be helpful in the long run, but I feel like heavy plow may have been a little bit too much of an investment here for Max. And remember, Max doesn't have +2 defense. Looks like he's gonna launch a counterattack here with the knights, and in theory he has the chance to run into Lierey's eco. In fact, there is a knight here inside Lierey's eco, and Liereyy doesn't have a lot of mobility. Here comes the crossbowman blob though, and Max is gonna have to defend against this, but as things stand, Max could run into Lierey's eco, and that could cause so much chaos. One raid like this could easily devastate Lierey's economy as he's scrambling for a quick wall here. Now the villagers are jumping back into the TC, so it looks like these knights may not be able to get in. They will still kill a huge amount of vills though, so I feel like the value is still there for Max. Sure enough, he's gonna lose the knights, but Lierey's eco is under heavy pressure here. It's one thing that he has lost 7 vills. The bigger deal is the amount of idle time, the amount of effort that these quick walls take. You see that right now Liereyy only has 4 on gold, on this gold mine, because These villagers are idle, so it definitely did quite a lot of damage and disruption inside Lierey's eco. And now look at what Max is doing. Max is one of the players that has been using this outpost play for so long. Getting outposts up all across the map to just have a complete vision and know exactly what his opponent is doing. Nowadays, multiple players are doing that, but Max has been a pioneer of this one. He was one of the first players that ever started using this on a frequent basis. Just going for these outposts, getting the information that he needs. Outpost is a small investment for a massive amount of advantage when it comes to getting information about the whereabouts of your opponent. Still no +2 defense for Max, and I'm starting to feel like he may have forgotten about it. As Liereyy, on the other hand, is planning to go into Imperial. Lierey's fishing eco here is still super brutal. He's got 14 fishing ships to work with, and credits to him because he had a very smooth transition from the fish to fish traps. That's pretty rare that you have such a smooth transition. He was able to do that, and now Liereyy is tacking into pikemen. Max is not impossibly far away from Imp either, but he has to figure out quickly that Liereyy is going into Imp. And even if he does that, what is Max gonna do against pikemen here? Like, commander on crossbows could make some sense. You could see maybe hand cannoneers, but paladin hand cannoneer or cavalier hand cannoneer is a very expensive unit composition. I think that I would be very happy to see the new war elephants, the ones that got their cost reduced. I think it was just a cost reduction buff, but would be fun to see buffed war elephants appearing on the field. Still, Max is not going up to Imperial, and it looks like Liereyy is gonna be able to defend this one enough to buy himself some time to get up to Imp, and then he's gonna have like 40 Arbs and a bunch of Halberdiers. Now, he's gonna be careful with those Mangonels around. He's gonna dive in with the Knights. Snipes one Mangonel, the other Mangonel is still alive here, takes a shot, misses it, and now I feel like Liereyy could be taking over. Because Max is gonna click into Imperial, but Liereyy has a 2.5 minutes advantage in this. He's gonna have a massive blob of Arbs, and what's more worrisome for Max is Pikemen. Because his Knights could actually take on the Crossbowmen, but not the Pikemen. And he doesn't have an immediate response. One thing that he could do is use his mobility though, and that would be a nice thing to have. We have seen him doing that in the previous stages of this game, just trying to force Liereyy to defend and not let him move out of his base. But that's the only chance here for Max. He's mining stone with 4 only, as he has 1 relic. He's playing for a long game, and his economy is slightly stronger than that of Lierey's. But the thing is that if Max survives the first initial push, he's gonna have a good chance. Because after that first initial push, Liereyy is gonna have limited amount of resources to work with. You see, Liereyy is already struggling for wood really badly. On the other hand, if Liereyy is able to finish off his opponent with this push, then, well, Max is gonna be out, and this is a scary force to deal with. There's already Halberdiers out for Liereyy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there an overchop there? There could be an overchop over there. Or just a policite here. Let's see, Liereyy is gonna react instantly. Very nice job, as Liereyy moves in to get the first villager kills belonging to him in this game. Most of these walls are reinforced, so the Arbs will have a tough time getting through them, and you see that Max is realizing that stone walls are the name of the game. He's still trying to bash into Lierey's base, but one thing that Max was able to achieve is that Liereyy wasn't able to do much with his Arbalasts, and here's the deal. As long as the Halberdiers don't join the Arbalasts, the Cavalier could easily devastate them. If you bring in these 19 Cavalier with +4 defense, and the Cavalier upgrade in, you can easily destroy this army. And also, on the left side, we have some villagers being picked off from Liereyy. So, this is still open for both sides, I would say. It depends on how well Liereyy is able to preserve those Arbs and help them out with Halberdiers. Because there's gonna be a huge amount of Hobs in here. Scorpions is the name of the game for Max, and it looks like Max won't fight this one here. He wants to be aggressive. He doesn't go back to his base to defend. He is actually going full aggressive, going for the Scorpions to deal with the Halberdiers. Remember that he has the mobility advantage with the knights. He can decide whichever fight he is willing to take and whichever he does not, as a plate mail is now coming in for those hobs. Still, applying such a huge amount of pressure could be massive because remember, Max knows exactly that one thing that Liereyy doesn't have is wood. And if Liereyy doesn't have wood, then spamming halberdiers is not really something that can work out in the long run. I could also see Persian skirmishers being used here, because despite the fact that they are pretty potato in general, they are missing Bracer, they could still work because it's Arbalest and Halberdier, so technically a skirmisher is an answer to everything here. And I think Max wants Paladin. Max is the Paladin Whisperer of Age of Empires, and looking at those resources, I am fairly confident that that is a Paladin on the horizon for Max. So, castle coming in on the left side for Liereyy would secure quite a lot of extra wood for him, and Max still doesn't have the resources or the units that he needs to deal with the Halberdiers. Looks like it's going to be Heavy Scorpion, actually. That could work, but you need a huge amount of them to make this one happen. Still, now with the Halberdiers up here, the Cavaliers might find an opportunity to get some raiding damage done once again. Huge amount of Halberdiers coming in here to raid, and that's the Elite Skirm for Max. Still missing defense upgrades on them, still missing ballistics. So now Liereyy is the one applying pressure, and Liereyy is the one being pop-capped. Whereas for Max, he is stuck at sort of 170 pop right now. Elite Skirms are in, and Heavy Scorpions will be in as well, and once you get a good number of Heavy Scorpion up, it's gonna be awfully hard to deal with them. Especially because Japanese don't have bombard cannons. So we're probably gonna need onagers from Liereyy to deal with this one, as the group of Heavy Scorpions starts rolling out. Obviously, those Heavy Scorpions are the difference between life and death for Max. If he loses those, he's gonna have no tools of stopping the Halberdiers, and he's losing a huge amount of vills here on the left side. In this one, soon Liereyy is gonna have gold issues, by the way, because he doesn't have any extra gold to work with as well. He has one relic, Max is sitting on 2 as the fire galley joins the fight. Halberdiers have bonus damage against ships, so they will be able to take those ships down in quick succession. And that's Paladin for Max. As I said, he is the Paladin person, and this could be the decisive fight of the game. The Heavy Scorpions are a little bit caught off guard, but on the other hand, the Halberdiers just kind of kamikaze them, and that's not a good fight for Liereyy, I think. In fact, it's far from being good. Max also doesn't want to take that fight just yet, because he is missing Paladin upgrade. But this fight is probably as good as it gets for Max currently. And with increasing amounts of Scorpions and soon Paladin hitting the field, Max could easily swing this back in his favor, because sure enough, Max's population is pretty low, 155. But remember that the value of his units is massive. If you look at the army value, 3.6k versus 4.4k. As that's gonna be 2 castles on the left side. Chances are that... Oh, Max doesn't see that. Max doesn't see the castle, whereas Liereyy does see it. So Liereyy knows exactly that castle is coming up over there. So Paladin almost in here for Max, but indeed he only has 7 Cavalier, and this is often a sort of a debate in 1v1 if Paladin is worth it. Because Paladin is a very, very expensive upgrade, and in 1v1 it's actually too expensive potentially. As the castle goes up here for Liereyy, and now the Scorpions are exposed. Paladin is in for Max, but is it actually what he needs? I am not so sure. He was never able to take down these Arbs, and he's just not even producing any more Paladins. I think Max is a little bit stuck here with unit comps. He's just not producing units. And I think that at this point, if he just kept pumping out Paladins, that he has the resources to do that, he could easily surround this army. If he had 20 Paladins here, he would have been able to clean it up, but nope. Max steps out, and Liereyy takes away the whole map of the opponent in this one. Max resigns with 1,000 food and 1,000 gold in the bank. I'm going to double check if it's not a crash or so, but it's not a crash because Liereyy is saying GG's. And this is not a disconnect. I just checked the player chat in the tournament. Liereyy said GG's and sorry for all the problems. He was referring to the delay caused. So it is not a crash. It is a resign. But truth being told, Max has made Liereyy run for his money like crazy. This was a very, very competitive set, and honestly, I feel like this game was a little bit potato from Max. Maybe he got exhausted or something like that, but I mean, if he actually kept producing paladins in the last 3 or 4 minutes, or maybe even just skip paladin as it is and just pumped out 20 more cavalier instead. If he has 20 more cavalier, he would have just destroyed this army and suddenly he's leading. The only reason why he was behind is because these arms were not killed. But looking at those resources, if he just kept producing paladins in the last 2 or 3 minutes, he would have had 15 paladins here, and Liereyy has 13 halberdiers. Though 13 halberdiers are basically around here, it's not like he could have stopped the paladin from destroying this army. And if this army goes down, suddenly Max has the lead, because Liereyy didn't really have the goal to replenish the Arbalest here. Maybe Max resigned because he saw this castle going up and he was like, okay, he's gonna come up here and take the gold, so maybe the resource control game failed. Same thing here on the right side, so Liereyy was able to expand, and probably that is why Max decided to tap out. But this game was weird for many reasons. I just don't think that the heavy Scorpion play is something that was that reasonable. Massive investment, and Scorpions are still so weak when it comes to close combat. Like, a couple of halberdiers will run them down. Probably Mass Elite Skirm would have been a slightly better option here for Max. Anyways, awkward ending for this set, but Max definitely made Liereyy run for his money, and with that, Max takes a loss here in the last game, and Liereyy moves into the semifinals. But shout out to Max because he definitely made this one super duper competitive.